Gives you a good idea of the general overall difference between the two. The figures I quoted you, Mr. Thaler, are on the 6-cylinder engine. But for those long, high-speed hauls of yours into the city, what you really need is an 8. Chevy doesn't make an 8. Ford gives you a more flexible choice of power plant. Now, here's something else I'd like you to notice.
Think you did any good there, Joe?
Yeah, I do. I'm sure of one thing, though. You can't hurry a man like Thaler. He'll think over what I told him, and he'll study that catalog. Of course, I'm going to keep in touch with him.
Where'd you get all that dope about trucks?
I'll show you when we get back to the office. There you are, Herb. The dope about trucks. The data book, truck selector, and all the rest of it. Look it over if you want to while I go see what it'll cost to get Bullard's 46 Chevy fixed up for the used car lot.
Okay, Joe.
Well, looks like we can swing a deal with Bullard if he'll go for a 4-door.
Boss okay?
Boss won't know anything about it. Not until Bullard signs the order.
Kind of sure of yourself, aren't you?
Oh, I miss sometimes. Calling that prospect Dick gave me.
Who's Dick?
The bird dog we met on the street this morning. Hello, Miss Jasper. This is Joe Thorne with Jack Swift, the Ford dealer. I understand you and Mr. Jasper are thinking about buying a new Ford. That news certainly does get around, doesn't it? Well, I called to tell you that we have a customer for a model just like yours, and we can make you a very attractive trade-in allowance on a new Ford. If I can come over and talk to... Oh. Well, when will he be back in town? I see. All right, then I'll call you on Friday. Thanks very much. Goodbye.
Is that another prospect?
Yeah. This is a competitive owner. I try to call at least 5 every day. Hello, Mr. Freetag. This is Joe Thorne with Jack Swift. Oh, you did? Well, I should have been more on my toes, shouldn't I? Well, it won't happen again. All right, I'll call you back in about 11 months. Yeah. Oh, but bring your new car in for service anyhow, will you, Mr. Freetag? All right. Thanks a lot. Bye. Oh, sure, Mr. Charters. Plymouth's a good car. But the new Ford's got a lot of features you don't get in the Plymouth. Yeah. Well, you don't want to do anything until you at least drive the new Ford. I'll stop by your house tonight about 8 o'clock. Okay? Fine. Thanks a lot. I'll see you this evening. Well, that takes care of the competitive calls. Let's go get some nourishment.
That sounds interesting, too.
I was wondering if you two ever thought about food.
Oh, sure. We're almost human. We spent the biggest part of a half hour at lunch. Then we went out the back door to the restaurant parking lot.
What are you doing now, Joe? Part of my advertising campaign. I put out about 10 of these cards a day on the best cars during my lunch hour.
10 a day, that's 60 a week. If all those cars come in,
They don't, though, Herb. Only about 1 in 10 ever shows up. Watch that fellow. See what I mean? Gonna pick up a lot of good deals that way. Oh, come on, let's get the rest of our advertising out and go back to the showroom. Oh, there's one from my list.
On what?
License number of that 46 Plymouth going there. Come on inside and I'll show you what I do with it. Hello, Miss Moore.
Oh, Mr. Thorne.
Will you look up some license numbers for me?
Certainly.
Miss Moore finds a lot of good prospects for me in license numbers.
Oh, here's one I didn't find for you, Mr. Thorne. This man called while you were out. He wants to know about that demonstrator you advertised.
Oh, yeah, thanks a lot.
Oh, and Mr. Bullard's waiting for you in one of the closing rooms.
Well, thanks again. It's the 4-door you want, isn't it, Mr. Bullard?
That's right.
And you want the radio, the heater, white sidewall tires, and the overdrive.
Overdrive? Oh, I hadn't given any thought to that.
Well, that's a feature that'll pay for itself in the gas it saves, Mr. Bullard. Let's see, you live in Claremont, don't you?
Uh-huh.
That's about 40 miles a day round trip. With the overdrive, you'll see a big difference in the amount of gas you use.
How much does it cost?
It'll only add $4.50 to your monthly payments, Mr. Bullard.
Well, okay.
All right, let's see. That brings your payments to $45.55 a month. If you'll just okay this offer, we'll see what the boss has to say about it.
Yes, sir?
That's a good deal, Joe. If they were all that clean, I'd be a much happier man. By the way, how's our new man Herb getting along?
Well, there's the Bullard deal, Herb.
They all that easy, Joe?
But I get my share of them. Now I gotta sell Bullard's old car. Still got time to get this ad in tomorrow's paper. You see, Herb, Bullard's car belongs to me for 48 hours. After that, anybody can sell it. Anyway, the sooner I sell it, the more I make, because that price is going to go in just one direction, and that's down.
I get it. I've been meaning to ask you, Joe, about these newspaper ads you run. They really pay off, huh?
Oh, sure. Being in business for myself, I've got to run personal ads. Hey, that reminds me. That call Miss Moore gave me. Yeah, here it is. You want to see the ad that brought it in? Hello, Mr. Faulkner. This is Joe Thorne. You called me about my Ford four-door. Yeah, what kind of car do you have? Yeah. Well, we ought to be able to make you a very attractive offer, Mr. Faulkner. Well, I can't tell you that until I see your car. When can you come in? All right, fine. I'll see you then. Okay, goodbye. Now, I got this ad off to the newspaper, and we've still got time for some more cold approaches. Okay, Herb?
Okay, Joe. Let's go. And so we spent the rest of Monday and the early part of the evening making more cold approaches. I told you it'd be long-winded, Charlotte, but that's the story.
It wasn't long-winded at all. It's very interesting. Did you do the same thing on Tuesday and today?
Yes, we did. The same things and more. We made a lot more cold approaches, got in touch with more bird dogs, called some more competitive owners, picked up a few more license numbers, and put out some more if I could would you cards. And then yesterday, when Joe was on floor duty, I got a chance to see the difference in handling prospects you go out after and those who walk into the showroom. These people, the Armstrongs, like almost everybody else who drops in, were only interested in how much they could get for their old car. But instead of making them a high-action offer the way he did with Bullard, Joe came in with a low-action offer.
I'd say that car was worth around, $875.
What? You're crazy.
That's what your car's worth on the market, Mr. Armstrong. Here are some prices in today's paper on models like yours.
So Joe quoted him the market figures, and the Armstrongs acted very unhappy. In fact, Mr. Armstrong made it plain he wanted $150 over the market to make a deal out of it. But that didn't bother Joe. He just made a note of the $1,025 and began selling the new car and as many accessories as he could so the deal would get closer to a reasonable figure. Then Joe got him into a pretty good humor by spending a few minutes with the showroom demonstration kit, hitting the features he knew Mrs. Armstrong would like.
Oh, it is beautiful.
They agreed that they wanted a four-door with white sidewalls, a heater, a radio, and seat covers, with Joe making notes on all this.
And do you want the regular time payments to cover the balance, Mr. Armstrong?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, that allowance on your old car is pretty steep. But if you'll okay this...
Hold on there. You haven't agreed to my terms.
Well, these are your terms, Mr. Armstrong. But I'll do my best to get the boss to go for them.
He'd better.
I watched the Armstrongs while Joe was checking the price, and they acted like a couple of kids. He was bragging like he'd bought the Fort Knox Gold for a counterfeit slug, and she was cooking up the story she was going to tell all her friends and relatives. That Ford was practically in their garage when, bang, Joe came back.
Everything all right?
Boss wants to know if I'm out of my head talking about $150 over market value.
The deal's off? Oh, dear.
No, he'll play along with us. He'll give you $100 over market value on this car with overdrive. On that basis, he might consider it.
Might?
Well, that's what he said. I think I can swing it with him.
And so Joe sold the overdrive hard before the Armstrong story came to a happy ending. They got a good deal. Jack Swift made a profit. Joe Thorne made a sale, and I...
Yes, dear?
Well, I learned something. I learned the difference in handling prospects you go out after, like on cold approaches and putting if I could would you cards on their windshields. That kind you make a high-action offer to get them interested. But the walk-ins, you make them a low-action offer so you can go up while they're coming down.
But, Herb, is that fair? To offer a low price to one and a high price to another?
Well, that's just the point, honey. You see, customers are good traders, too. They're always after the best deal they can get. And we always give them the best deal we can. In fact, they frequently end up getting more money than their old cars are really worth. But you've got to know the market value of used cars. And you get that from watching the newspapers and checking the used car lots.
I think you're really going to have fun selling Fords, Herb. You certainly weren't this enthusiastic on your other job.
Darling, if I could, would you?
Why, what do you mean, Herb?
If I could make a good living selling Ford cars, would you marry me?
Of course, darling. I told you as soon as you found a job you were happy with, I would. This is the best offer I've had today.
It's the best deal in town.